Hi guys, I'm Michelle from Full Motion Bodyworks, and this flow is all about the hips and low back. So props that you might need to have on hand. I don't use all of them, but I do like to have yoga blocks if possible. You can also use a foam roller or a coffee can. This is just for a little move at the end to decompress your sacrum. I have a yoga strap here. I don't always use it. You could have a scarf or a belt. And I've got a bolster. You could just use a couple pillows if you don't have a bolster handy. This stuff is just nice to have if you are really restricted in your hips and low back. It can help to have some props to make things a little bit easier to work with. So let's get started. You're going to start seated, and we're going to take your feet and bring them out here so your knees are bent. Doesn't matter if they are shoulder width apart or hip width apart. You start with what feels comfortable for you and go from there. We're going to drop both hips to one side and the other side. So windshield wipers, I always like to do these before we really get into stretching the hips, just to kind of thin out your synovial fluid, get the joint warmed up before we kind of dig into it. So just nice and slow going back and forth. And just take note if one side feels tighter than the other, or if both knees don't touch the ground. Maybe you're up here this way and you can go down all the way this way. Just things to keep in mind. And again, if you're pinchy in the front of the hip, move your feet out or try moving them in. Just change the angles. There's not really a right or wrong way to be positioned for this. We're just warming the hips up. So we'll do a couple more here. Good, we'll do one more going this way. And now you're gonna drop both knees to one side, doesn't matter which, because we're gonna go both. I'm gonna have you take your front foot and kind of tuck it so that it's touching this thigh. Take this ankle, pull it in towards your bum a little bit so you're not quite at 90-90 but close. You've got a little triangle going in the front hip here. So I'm gonna have you take one hand on each side of that front knee. Make your chest nice and tall, so think about lengthening through the spine. And then you're just gonna bend at the elbows, drop your chest towards that front knee. Take a nice big deep breath in. And as you exhale, you're just gonna tuck your chin and push yourself back up to the top, kind of like you're making a wave. And then we're gonna do it again. See if you can go a little bit deeper this time. So bend at the elbow, drop that chest. See if you can go a little bit further. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, tuck that chin, push up, making that nice little wave. And then we're going one more time over that front knee. Drop it down. Get down as far as you comfortably can, and you're gonna stay there this time. Take a nice deep breath here. And then you're just gonna shift to look over one shoulder and then the other shoulder. So you're still staying down over that front bent knee, and you're just gonna shift, look over the other shoulder. So just going back and forth here. So what we're doing here is we're trying to hit the 3 fans of the glute. I call them fans because they kind of look like fans. The glute max, the glute min, and the glute med. So we're just going kind of back and forth here. Good, come back to center over that front knee, tuck the chin, push back up. And now we're going to the other side. So just switch the knees, drop them the other direction this time, and I'm just gonna move so you guys can maybe see a little bit different angle this time. So pull that front foot in here, kind of tuck that back foot. One hand on each side of the front knee. So make yourself nice and tall, nice big deep breath. Bend at the elbows, drop that chest towards the front knee. And it's okay to kind of start slow and just dive a little bit in at first. Deep breath here, tuck the chin, push up like you're making a wave, and then repeat. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper this time, dropping the chest over that front knee. Take a nice big deep breath in. Tuck the chin, push up. We're gonna do one more, drop over, and you're gonna stay down this time. Take a nice deep breath here. And then again, you're gonna shift to look over one shoulder. Doesn't matter which, we're going both ways. And then the other way, so shift and look. Trying to hit each one of those glute fans. So looking over one shoulder, going back the other direction. Good, we'll go one more each direction here. Look, and last one. Look, Good, back to the center. You're gonna go ahead, tuck the chin, push back up, bring your hands back, bring your knees back to the center, and then another windshield wiper, so just dropping side to side. See if you might have a little bit more ease in the hips just after that little warm-up move. Check it out here. Good, we're gonna go right down to the floor on our backs. So I'm gonna switch directions. You guys can stay where you're at, just to give you a better view. If you've got your yoga strap or belt, scarf handy, now would probably be the time you use it. And you're gonna just drop down onto your back, bring your knees up, give them a gentle squeeze, bring them up towards your chest, and just rock side to side to kind of let your pelvis reset. So now if you're really tight in your low back, you don't have a lot of flexibility there, this would be a good time to get your bolster or a couple pillows or a blanket, just something to kind of support you, because we're gonna get right into the low back. So you're gonna have knees bent up at about 90 degrees, and you're gonna tip both knees over to one side while trying to keep the opposite shoulder down. Doesn't matter which side, we're doing both. So again, if you're really tight, take this bolster and use it as kind of a landing point for those knees, so that if you don't get all the way to the floor, you can start here. You don't really want to get into a whole bunch of pain. If it's painful, you need to elevate those knees up. So this is a good starting point if you're really tight. If you can though, get that out of the way and drop both knees all the way down to the floor, trying to keep this opposite shoulder down. So take a nice deep breath here. I'm gonna move my bolster because I don't need it. But if you need to prop those knees up, use a pillow or something like that, and take some nice deep breaths. If it's comfortable for your neck, you're gonna look at that hand on the floor, so your nose is pointing the opposite direction of your knees. And take some nice deep breaths here, and just let that low back relax and settle down. If you want a deeper stretch, you can take that bottom leg and just slide it down so it's straight, it's no longer bent, just slide it out of the way, and use this hand here on top of the knee to gently just pull you closer to the floor. If that's too much, bring that other knee back up and stay there and breathe. Nice, beautiful twist for the low back. We'll do one more deep breath here. And if your leg is straight, you're just gonna slide it back up bent. And you're gonna use your hands to help you push those knees back up to where we started. Give yourself a nice squeeze and a rock. And we're just going to the opposite side. So if you have your bolster, move it to the opposite side. Otherwise, you're just dropping both knees over to the opposite side. This arm stays down here. And you might notice one side feels much easier than the other or more uncomfortable. You might not need a bolster on one side. And if your neck is comfortable, you're just gonna look at the hand on the floor. And if you want a deeper stretch, you're gonna straighten that bottom leg and pull that top knee closer to the floor. Nice deep breaths. If you find this arm is coming up, you're getting too deep into the stretch, you're not quite there yet, so bring this leg back up or use a bolster to help you out. And breathe. Nice deep breaths. Good, you're just gonna slide this bottom leg up if you have it straight. And again, you're gonna take your hands to help you push back up to the center. Give yourself a nice little squeeze here and rock side to side. You're gonna keep your knees bent, but bring your feet down on the floor. And you're gonna bring one leg up and over into a nice little figure four. So if you need to, take your strap and wrap it around the bottom leg here to help you, you certainly can. If you can do it without, you might get a little bit better leverage. Doesn't matter either way, do what's more comfortable for you. This is just to help you pull your figure four into your chest if you need some support. Otherwise, you're gonna lift your figure four up towards the ceiling and then float it in towards your chest and then just rock it side to side. If you're getting pinchy in the front of the hip, move this foot either up or down, change the angle until you feel a little bit more comfortable. So just rocking here, side to side. Nice and gentle. You can even do little circles. You can use this hand to help support. Good. You're going to drop your figure four back down to the floor and you're going to tip it over on its side. So this foot is going down to the floor, trying to keep, again, this shoulder down. So from here, we're going to do some internal engagements that will just get into some different parts of your hip capsule. So take a nice deep breath here to start with. Kind of let your thoracolumbar fascia open up a little and relax. And you're going to use this hand to kind of support this ankle here. And you're going to take your free hand on the inside of this knee and just really gently push away from your body. So pushing that knee away from you to get into kind of the front of the hip capsule, and take a nice deep breath there. Good, let it go and relax. We're gonna do one more big push here. So push it open, nice deep breath. Good, and relax. So I want you to keep this foot on the floor if you have that capacity, and you can kind of use this hand to anchor it. And so this is where the internal engagement comes in. So I want you to pull without moving this foot off of the floor. So this foot is glued here. I want you to pull this knee up away from your body at an angle. So going kind of towards the back corner away from you. And that you should feel how that kind of triggers a different spot in your hip capsule. If you're not feeling it, you might be restricted there. You're probably not doing it wrong. And it's just a tiny little move, a cue to pull this knee out away from you towards the opposite corner. Good, then relax it. And now you're gonna pull that knee out the opposite direction towards this corner away from you. So just pulling this whole almost leg this way without picking that foot up off the ground. So again, just changing the part of the hip capsule you're getting into. Take a nice deep breath there and then relax it. Good. And then we're gonna pull the knee in towards this shoulder lying on the floor to change the hip capsule a little bit. Again, deep breath there. And then one more time, you're going to take this hand and just push it away. Perfect. And then you're going to push that figure four back up to where we started. You're going to take this top leg and cross it all the way over the bottom leg this time. So legs are crossed completely. The foot that's on the floor is going to walk out and around in a big semicircle towards the same armpit. So the foot on the floor is walking out towards the same side armpit. You can use this hand to kind of keep your legs together here so that you're not moving. You should get a nice juicy stretch in the opposite hip. So just take a nice deep breath here. Let that open up. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can take this hand here, slide it along the floor, up and over your head, so you're kind of in a half moon shape. So you're thinking about pulling your armpit and your hip bones away from each other, trying to lengthen that area as much as possible. Get a nice side body stretch through there. This area becomes really compressed, and this is where a lot of low back pain comes from, because this gets really compressed and we need to stretch it out. Good, you can slide that hand back down and just walk your feet back to where we started. Uncross the legs, give yourself a little squeeze of the knees and rock side to side. And we're just switching, doing the same thing on the opposite side. So feet come back down, other leg comes up and over. You've got your nice figure four here. If you need your strap, go ahead and use it. Otherwise, you're picking this leg up to the ceiling and floating it into your chest, and then just rocking side to side, nice and gentle. If you need to adjust this foot here, go ahead and do that. Let's start by just rocking, warming up those glutes. Nice and easy, lots of deep breaths. If you're holding your breath, you're probably going too deep into the stretch if you feel you need to hold your breath, and you wanna just back off a little bit. The whole no pain, no gain mentality does not apply to this flow. You want it to be nice and gentle so that your nervous system calms down and relaxes. So when you're ready, you're just going to tip your figure 4 over on its side and take a nice deep breath here. Let that thoracolumbar fascia just kind of relax for a moment before we start some internal engagements. So nice deep breath. You might notice one side feels much better than the other or much more restricted. It's totally fine. So you're going to take your free hand here on the inside of that knee and you're just going to gently push that leg away. So keeping that foot on the floor. Just changes the stretch a tiny bit, gets into a different part of the hip capsule. Good, then you can relax. We're going to do that one more time. Take a deep breath and exhale, push that top leg away. And breathe here. Good, then you can relax. So again, keeping that foot glued to the floor, you're gonna pull your knee out away from this shoulder. So just changing where you're going with the stretch a little bit. It's all internal engagement, so it will look like I'm not changing the stretch at all, but I'm pulling this leg and this knee in that direction, away from the body to get a different part of the hip. Relax, and now I'm going to pull the knee in this direction here. So still away from the body, just to a different corner to get a different part of the hip capsule. So all of these are just tiny little adjustments that you make, but it all hits a different part of the hip capsule. Good, go ahead and relax. And now you're going to pull that knee in towards the shoulder on the floor. And take a deep breath there. And then you're going to one more time take this hand and just push it away to open up. Nice deep breath. Perfect. And you're going to bring that figure 4 back up to where we started. Cross this top leg all the way over the bottom. You can use this hand to kind of help anchor the legs together. That foot that's on the floor, you're going to walk it out and around in a big semicircle towards the same armpit. And take a deep breath here. And let this opposite side body open up. And if you want to deepen the stretch, you're going to take this arm, your free arm, up and over your head into a half moon shape. So your feet and your hand are going in the same direction. Thinking about creating as much space as possible in between the armpit and the hip bone. Lengthen all of that area through there. One more deep breath. Good, and you can slide your hand back, walk your feet back, uncross the legs, give yourself a nice little hug with the knees, rock a little bit side to side, and you're just gonna use that momentum and rock and roll all the way over onto your side. And we're gonna come onto our knees. So we're gonna open up the front of the hip here without compressing the low back. So normally, a lot of times you guys will see this stretch in like yoga or classes where you just drop your low back down, pull the hips up. Well, if you're having a lot of compression back here, that feels really uncomfortable. So instead of just diving right down and kind of dumping into your low back, I want you guys to start on your knees, keep the low back high to start with, and you're just gonna drop one hip down, like you're making a circle, and then go to the other side and come back up. So see how my hips are still a little bit high and I'm not compressing into that low back. They're just, your sacrum's staying a little bit more open this way. So we're just opening the hips up with some nice little circles. And then we're going to switch directions. So opposite hip drops down, circle around, keeping that low back from hyperextending and kind of dumping and compressing into the sacrum. So go one more circle. Perfect. So I'm going to just turn here. You guys can get a better angle. So you're going to keep one leg down, one knee down. You're going to step the opposite foot outside of this front hand. So we're getting a little bit of a hip flexor stretch through here. So you're just gonna kind of lean forward if you can. If you need yoga blocks here, or a pillow or anything to kind of, if you don't have the flexibility, something to lean on to support you, go ahead and do that. So we're kind of getting into this hip flexor here. And now we're gonna work into this hip here. So you're gonna kind of take this knee out to the side, but try and track your big toe and your knee with you. So just open this knee up so that we're opening into the hip capsule. And now what you're gonna do is I want you to use your bum as a guide, and you're gonna go out and around at an angle. So you're not just going straight back, you're going out to the side and then coming back around. So see how my leg is still kind of bent? It doesn't straighten all the way because we're not just getting into the hamstring, we're getting into a deep part of the hip capsule. So take a nice deep breath there. And then you're gonna bring your hips back around to where we started. You're gonna close that joint for a moment, and now we're gonna dip straight back. So hips go straight back, open up the hamstrings. And we're gonna repeat that one more time. So hands go on the inside of that foot. This knee drops open. Bring those hips back and around. Take a nice deep breath here. So we're at an angle in that hip capsule. And walk it forward. Bring that knee back in, lean back to get a little hamstring reset. Good, and then come up to kneeling. So if you're on a hard floor and you need to double up your mat, go ahead and do that. I don't even really need a mat at this point. So the same knee stays down, you're going to bring yourself up, tuck your pelvis under. Think about someone punching you in the gut. You're kind of pulling here so you're not, again, not dumping into the pelvis. So tuck your tailbone under, lean forward slightly to get into this part of the hip flexor. And whatever leg is down, you're gonna take that arm, bring it up towards the ceiling, then tilt it over your head. So this hip is kind of popping out in that direction. Take a deep breath there. Come back up to the top. So now you're just gonna turn slightly. So you're gonna take your free arm inside of that front knee to push you open. So now your chest is facing more to the side. And from here, now you're going to, again, reach over the head like you're diving over that front knee. And take a deep breath here. Good, coming back up to the top. You're gonna walk this foot out at an angle and just lunge at this angle here to get the short adductors on this side. Deep breath. Come back in, walk this foot all the way out to the side so it's straight, and then you're just gonna sit back. Like you're sitting in a chair, sit your hips back, so you should get into your long adductors here. And then you're just gonna rotate your big toe up towards the ceiling, changes the angle, gets into some different muscles there, and then rotate it back to the floor. We're gonna do that one more time. Rotate it up. Good, and then back down. And then you're just gonna switch legs. So bring that in, kind of shimmy out, step this leg forward here. Actually, we're gonna go back to the first move. So put both hands down, kind of slide this knee back, step the other foot forward. So your hands are inside of that foot. Drop your knee out to the side, tracking your knee and your big toe together. Opening up the hip. Think about dropping this hip down to the floor to get into that hip flexor a little bit more. And then again, you're gonna just swing your hips back and around at a bit of an angle to get into the hip capsule. And then you're gonna come forward, bring that knee back in, straighten it out, and then come forward again. So forward, open that hip up, swing that hip back and around. Good. Come forward, bring the knee in, lean back, hamstring stretch. And then we're gonna walk forward and we're gonna get into those hip flexors. So bring that leg in, sit up nice and tall. Again, tuck that tailbone under so you're not dumping here. You wanna tuck the pelvis under and just lean forward, get a nice hip flexor stretch here. Whatever knee is down, that arm is going up to the ceiling and then reach over your head. So this hip is popping out to the side slightly. If you have a hard time balancing, think about squeezing your knees together, and that will stabilize you a bit. Now you're going to take this hand on the inside of that front knee, push to open you up to the side, and then you're going to dive over the front leg that way. Nice deep breaths. Good. Come back up to the center, walk that front foot out at an angle, and you're going to lunge in there to get these short adductors on this side. Take a nice deep breath here. And then lean in, walk this foot all the way out to the side, and then you're just going to sit your hips back to get into the long adductors. And you're going to let those big toes float, one big toe float up to the ceiling, and then back down to the floor. And one more time, float it up. Good, bring it back down. Step your knee back in, shake it out a little. We're gonna do one more opener for the adductor. So you're still on all fours and you're just gonna slowly walk your knees out away from each other as far as you comfortably can, keeping your heels a little bit tilted inward towards each other. And down you go. And then you're just going to gently rock back. So sitting your hips back towards your feet, and then come up, kind of relax, and go back in. So we're gonna do 2 more rocks back towards your feet, coming up. Take your time, go nice and slow. This area is usually really tight for people. We're gonna do 1 more here. Perfect. And then you're gonna put your hands back on the floor, push yourself up, bring your knees back in, and you're gonna come to sit. So we're just gonna do 1 more little hip opener, and we're gonna end by decompressing the sacrum. So start with your feet on the floor, knees bent. You're gonna take one leg, pull it underneath the other. Take this leg, pull it up over top. So what you're trying to shoot for here is stacking your knees on top of each other and getting your feet in line with each other. So the further your feet are away from your hips and your bum, the better stretch you'll get. If you're really tight and you have to pull in tighter or closer, that's all right. So do what feels comfortable for you at this point. So try and stack the feet, or stack the knees, get the feet in line with each other. When you've situated yourself, you're just gonna lean back and take a nice deep breath. So depending on how tight you are, you might not even be able to get this leg all the way over. If your foot has to be on the floor and your knee has to be up, that's fine. It's just something to work towards. So we'll do a couple more deep breaths here. We'll do 1 more deep breath. Sit back and relax. Think almost towards the end here, we're gonna think about pushing your knees out away from your body to really open it up, and we'll do 1 deep breath like that. Perfect. And then you're gonna nice and slow just uncross those legs. Do a quick windshield wiper here to kind of clear them out. And then we're going to the opposite side. So whatever leg was on top, that leg is going on the bottom. Now I'm gonna have to think about this. We're going here, this leg here, this leg here. So stacking the knees, bringing your feet in line with each other, and then just leaning back once you're in a comfortable position. I've got a 5-month-old at home, and I definitely have a little bit of mom brain every once in a while, and that was one of those moments. Nice deep breaths, letting the hips just open, trying to think about breathing into that area. Do a couple more deep breaths. And again here, think about pushing your knees down towards the floor, away from you, to really open up those hips, and we'll do 1 more deep breath just like that. Pushing those knees down towards the floor. Perfect. And then you can just really gently uncross your legs and just dip side to side, clear them out 1 more time. So we're gonna end here with a little bit of sacral decompression. Great if you have like SI joint issues, sciatic issues, any kind of issues really with your low back. So I'm going to use a yoga block. If you have a foam roller, you can also use a foam roller, just use it the long way, so going this way. If you don't have either one, you can find like a coffee can sometimes will work. But a yoga block is a really great investment, really versatile, and they're cheap. So you're going to take whatever tool is available to you here. You're going to sit with your knees bent to start with. You're going to take this block, lie on down on your back. You're going to push through your heels to lift your hips up, so big squeeze here. You're going to take this block and put it right underneath your sacrum. So your sacrum is that kind of triangular bone right in the middle of both of your hip bones, so really low in the low back, kind of just below the belt line. So you're going to take your block and you're going to line it up right there, and then you're just going to relax. So take your arms out. You might have to fool around exactly with where it's at. That's in a good spot for me, but it should feel almost like instant relief. So you can stay here if that feels really good, comfortable for you. If you want to open up the hips a little bit further, then bring your feet in to touch each other and let your knees drop open. So then we're really getting into that psoas area, your adductors, letting all of that open while we decompress your sacrum. If that doesn't feel good for you because maybe you do have SI joint issues, you can always just keep your knees up here, or if it feels better, you can straighten your legs. I like to kind of get a little bit extra hip opener here and let them fall open to the side. So just stay here for a couple nice deep breaths. This is a really great thing to do if you just feel super compressed in your low back. And again, if you've got like SI joint issues or sciatica, sometimes just a little bit of sacral decompression goes a long way. So we'll do 2 more nice deep breaths here. Though I invite you to stay here if you've got the time and just do some really nice deep breathing and let those hips really open up. Do 1 more deep breath. And when you're ready to come out of it, if your knees are open, you're just going to bring them together and you're going to push your hips up. So nice squeeze in the hips, pull the block out to come down. And sometimes you'll feel a little bit of spazzing or it feels really uncomfortable. So you just need to reset your pelvis by pulling your knees into the chest and just rocking a little bit side to side. Sometimes that extension can be a little bit overwhelming for your body and you just need to kind of bring yourself back into flexion to kind of reset. So I'm just going to roll up here. And there you go. That's about a 30-minute flow all about the hips and low back. Thanks for checking it out, and I've got tons more videos coming on my YouTube page. I hope you guys will tune in. Thanks.